Good evening. I should like to call this regular meeting of the City Council to order, please, for Tuesday, December 6th. And we're a little bit late. Apologize for that. Yeah. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Councilmember Bertani.
Here.
Mayor-elect Moy.
Here.
Councilmember Pandoro.
Here.
Councilmember Tim.
Here.
Councilmember Tonneson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Vaccaro.
Here.
And Mayor Price.
Here, we do have a quorum, and the invocation this evening will be led by Worship Pastor Christian Bravo, Liberty Church, sir, please.
Good evening. Let's bow our heads and pray. Father God, we come before you, acknowledging your presence in this place. We thank you for allowing us to live in this beautiful city of Fairfield. We ask that you bless this meeting, and also every decision that is made will honor you and praise you. We know that there are challenges that our city faces, and therefore we ask that you give our leaders the wisdom, the knowledge, and the heart of compassion to bring positive change for the benefit of the people. We ask that you bless our leaders and bless our city. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. And thank you, Pastor. Mayor-elect Moy, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we turn now to council reports. Vice Mayor Vaccaro, would you like to begin, please?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's always great to see a crowded council chambers. I'm going to keep mine really short since we got started a little bit late. I just wanted to tell everybody, please be safe over the holidays. The holidays are a real special time, but it's for some people it's not. Some people do have issues over the holidays, and they do suffer from some mental health and other issues, so please be aware of that. But more than anything, just be safe out there and enjoy. So that's my report for tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Bertani, would your report, please? Oh,
Oh, here she is.
yeah.
Sorry about that. Sorry, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for showing up. It's always a better meeting when you are here with us. And thank you also for everyone who is participating remotely or from home. Now you can hear me better. Yeah, sorry about that. Thank you for being here. Always appreciate your presence. I just want to say a heartfelt thanks to everyone who participated in the Clergy Action Network or Fairfield Can Thanksgiving dinner. It was truly phenomenal. We fed about 250 people a hot meal. We had entertainment there. Choir was there singing, and we all served. We had many, many volunteers. The churches donated coats and clothing and hygiene kits, and one gentleman, listen to this, one gentleman walked up to me with his son, who is a teenager, and said, "Thank you. This is the first home-cooked meal my son and I have had in a year." Wow. And he really meant that. So what that means to me is that we have a lot more work to do, but I just thank everybody. Travis Air Force Base was there strong and serving meals and doing everything that needed to be done. City staff, Mr. City Manager, thank you for allowing staff to help us with the setup and the breakdown. Thank you to everyone, every single church that is a Clergy Action Network member. Thank you. Some are present in the congregation, in the audience today, but I just want to thank everyone, let you know that we plan on having our next event will be a Easter dinner again at Willow Hall. David's looking at me like, really, Pam? But yeah, it'll be at Willow Hall. We've got a tentative date, and we plan on doing this for Easter, the really biggest day of the year. So thank you so much, Clergy Action Network. You're amazing. And that's my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mayor-elect Moy, your report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was so excited. I heard from people who went to the camp, and just, it was wonderful. And so thank you, Pam, for leading on that. Yeah, it seems that Thanksgiving was so long ago, but I just wanted to give a little shout out to all the churches and all of the faith leaders around this city. We literally gave out more than 1,000 turkeys to families, not just turkeys, but all of the fixings. And so, you know, we're always so thankful for all of those folks who do that. I was at one giving turkeys away, and it's just really, really touching. I saw a lady who I used to help when we had Heather House. She was there. Now she has her own apartment, but she's still having a hard time making all of the things fit. So she came by to get the things to make her family a Thanksgiving dinner. And it really, really puts things into perspective, doesn't it? Yeah. And let's see. Oh, I wanted to say that 2 weeks from tonight, you're all invited. We have our new council. We'll be coming here, and we're having a reception, and you're all invited over in City Hall down at the first floor, and then we'll come in here and have swear in our new council members you'll get to meet. The reception is at 5. And then at 6, we'll have our meeting here, and then people will get sworn in. And I just also wanted to say that I just got back. I was able to, as a mayor-elect, I was chosen as one of 25 people throughout the country, new mayors, to go to Harvard. We got scholarship to go to Harvard, not for the whole year, but to go there and get some training on leadership, how to get things going, how to work with people. And it was great. And the education continues. Next Tuesday, I'm back in the classroom, but virtually, so it was really good. And I know that Mayor Harry also went through that one, and it helped him a lot. So we were both really honored to have that. And then the last thing that I wanted to ask Mr. Mayor is a good friend of our city, and Mark Corioso had passed away. And he has always been around helping everybody. He's just a wonderful guy, grew up here in Fairfield, graduated from Fairfield High. And I was hoping that we could close tonight in Mark's name.
Indeed, we will.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Panduro, your report, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here on this lovely winter evening. I just wanted to give a congratulations to all of the winners of the Spirit Solano Award, which took place last week. So every chamber in the county did pick a local business to be awarded for holding the Spirit of Solano. So as we know, our local businesses are the backbone to our community. So it was a really special place to be able to recognize and acknowledge all those local businesses throughout the county. And with regards to business, I wanted to say good job to, our downtown. We had this small business Saturday with Boss Con. I don't know, some of my colleagues were there, and it was just such a great event to have over 2,000 people in our downtown, which doesn't just happen on a regular Saturday. So it was really awesome to see so many vendors out there and families doing some little bit of Christmas shopping with some local vendors. I also want to thank our poet laureate, Suzanne Bruce. So as some of you have seen her, she has been coming to our meetings and sharing poems for some of our events. So she did write one for the Christmas tree lighting, and she asked me to read it in Spanish, which was great. I learned a few new words that I don't usually use on a daily basis. And so it was really fun, though, to be inclusive and share that poem with all parts of our community. And so she has also asked me to read the poem in Spanish for our menorah lighting. So if you missed it for tree lighting, I'll be reading another poem for our menorah lighting December, I think, 21st. It is in downtown. And then just one last thank you. Last night we met, I think it was last night, we met with some residents in my district that had some concerns over a new housing project. And so I wanted to thank, David Gasaway and then our Housing Services Director, Latan Jones, for taking the time to meet with residents after hours in the living room and just, listen to their concerns. And so it's just really great when we can come together and be a good city, be a good neighbor, and listen to the concerns of our community and find solutions together. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Tim, please, your report.
Yeah, thank you. I think we've probably pretty much covered everything, but I wanted to piggyback on what Doris Panduro just said, excuse me, about the Spirit Awards with all the chambers of commerce, because business is the backbone of any community. And not your big businesses, obviously they are, but your small mom and pops. And it was so nice. This was all the chambers from the entire county, and they picked one business to actually acknowledge. And some were small, some were big, but most of them, I think, were businesses that we know of. And I see several recipients from prior years that won here. So a big shout out to them. That's the first time I've seen the Hilton Garden Inn packed like that in 2.5 years. It was actually kind of scary. But anyway, just a shout out and a Merry, Merry Christmas to all. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Tonneson, please, your report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, we've all been pretty busy with events this time of the year. The Christmas tree lighting was fantastic. Public Works, Parks and Rec. I mean, there's such a team effort that goes into that, and volunteers that help. So I just wanted to give a shout out. I know personally how much work is involved in that, and thank you all. The downtown, the Shop Small Saturday, that was a great success too. Debbie Tavy, you're out there in the crowd. You guys do great work. I mean, I know how much work it is, and I know how many people are involved in this, and I think that that's what brings community together. Where when I was with the Main Street, it wasn't with the city, but so we didn't have the amount of volunteers, but they still show up, and they still want to help, and it's just great to see. And just thank you, everybody, and Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Councilman Tonneson. And tonight I should like to report that the tree lighting ceremony downtown was such a joy. There were so many people there, including very large families. And when I looked from that stage at the people, I realized once again, very graphically, what a diverse community we live in Fairfield. And I really appreciate the fact that so many merchants were willing to stay open that night too. What a delightful time that was. And moreover, the city of Fairfield always does a pancake breakfast, and what a delight that was. Not only watching everybody enjoy themselves, but there were the contests, and I marvel at how many pancakes some folks can consume and not get sick. And also should like to report that on Saturday morning, I will be riding in a Fairfield fire truck with Santa Claus. And it's an annual program. Children from disadvantaged families from all over the area will be invited to Applebee's for a free breakfast and some gifts. What a delightful experience it is to enjoy something like that. Mr. City Manager, your report, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nothing to report tonight, just one quick item on the agenda before you. We had a correction for items 21 and 26. Those corrected versions are before you on the dais. There's a copy out in the lobby as well for the public. And because of that, as well as one number that was found as we were scrambling today to do that correction, I would recommend to the council that you pull item 21 from consent calendar and take item 21 just before item 26 under new business. The two of them are somewhat linked together, and I think it would just be recommended because it'd be a little easier for staff to present those items sort of in concert with each other and walk you through what those changes were that are before you in the revised version.
Okay. Are there any other changes to the agenda?
No other changes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. City Attorney, your report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have two items to report out of closed session tonight. The first is related to item number 1, a public employee performance evaluation for interim city manager David Gassaway. And I've been instructed by the council to begin negotiations with Mr. Gassaway for a permanent contract with a goal of placing that back on closed session and then in public session for approval of any possible contract on December 20th. The second item I'd like to report out is item number 2, conference with legal counsel on existing litigation in the matter of Hansabin Investments LLC, a California limited liability company, which is case number 22-30258 in the U.S. Bankruptcy Courts for the Northern District of California, San Francisco Division. The City Council improved an increase in the retainer fee for an outside law firm by $10,000 to go from $15,000, or an increase of $15,000, excuse me, from $10,000 to $25,000 total to continue to represent the city in that matter. And that's my report.
Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, your report, please.
I just have two things to state. So we are currently seeking two applicants for 2 seats on the Golf Advisory Board. So I encourage everybody to apply if they're interested. And then we are also still currently seeking youth commissioners. So if you know anybody, any kids out there that are very interested to join the Fairfield Youth Commission, we would love for them to join. Applications are on our website. And if you have any questions, you can come see me and submit the applications to me. That's it.
Okay, thank you. And if you would go to presentations, please, Madam Clerk.
Okay. Veterans Day Parade Awards were presented by Director of Parks and Recreation, Christina Konzinger, and Andrea Azzurdia.
Thank you. Actually, we have a couple of our core team members here. Andrea is joined by Kaylee Cambra, and they'll do the presentations, and then Juanita Johnson, who oversees all of our wonderful community events. So, take it away, ladies.
Thank you. Again, my name is Andrea, and this here is Kaylee. We're program coordinators with Parks and Rec. It's my honor to present the plaques today for the category winners for the Veterans Day Parade we had last month. Quick thank you to all the city departments that helped, fire, PD, of course, Public Works. Wouldn't be possible without you guys. And a very special thank you to our volunteers and then the Parks and Rec staff who actually worked the event on the parade day. This year we had 45 entries in the parade, which totaled to a little bit over 1,100 people who actually participated. And it was nice to see a lot of you guys there, so thank you for coming out. So each category winner receives $150, and then sweepstakes is $250, and sweepstakes is the highest scored entry out of the whole parade. We had 4 judges this year, and the winners are determined from their results. So first up, the winner of our band category was Armio Royal Regiment Band. They're not with us tonight, but we congratulate them in their winning. For our commercial category, that was won by American Red Cross. Next, we have our equestrian category, and that was won by Travis Equestrian Center. They're not with us tonight, but they did have, they even painted the hooves on their horses glittery and everything, so they were great. The winner of our float category was B Sharp Academy. And then the winner of our military category was Fairfield High School Air Force Junior ROTC program. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations. Then up next was our novelty category, and that was won by Roland Freedom Center. And for those of you that missed it, they have these awesome tanks and trucks and a whole bunch of really cool items that they have. And then we have our vehicle category. That this year was won by the Golden Hills Mustang Club, which Brian's here. Brian is the president. He's also the one that always transports our Grand Marshal in his beautiful red Shelby Mustang. So a huge thank you to Brian.
You know what, can I, my newsletter lady will be all over my case.
And then just two more. So our walking category was won by Girl Scouts of Northern California. And then lastly, our sweepstakes, which was the highest scoring entry, and that was won by Rancho El Centenario. So thank you again to the entries and congratulations to the winners, and we hope to see you again at the 4th of July.
Thank you very much. And we turn now, Madam Clerk, to public comments, if you would, please.
Persons wishing to address the City Council on subjects not on the agenda but within the jurisdiction of the Council may do so at this time. The Council cannot discuss or take action on matters not on the agenda for this meeting, but Council members may briefly respond to statements made or questions raised by the public. Ask for clarification from staff, refer the matter to staff, request staff to report back to Council at a subsequent meeting, or place the matter on a future agenda. To speak on an agenda item, please use the raise your hand feature or press *9 on your phone. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes per item. All right. I have two public comments. The first speaker is Joanna Smith.
My name is Johanna Smith. I live at Wood Creek Senior Commons, which is a senior community that backs up to the Dollar Tree at Travis and Oliver in Fairfield. About a year ago, the homeless population took over the property with the permission of the Dollar Tree manager. She told the police to leave them alone and not ticket them. They were sleeping in the bushes, had tents all along the west side of the building, and converted the shack that was used to contain the pallets into a tent inside with a gigantic padlock on the door. I've heard sawing and hammering, so I don't know if they built bunk beds in there or what. I wrote a letter to the Dollar Tree corporate office, and all they did was send people out to thin out the bushes, so no one sleeps in those now. Homeless people are actually lounging right near the no loitering signs. I used to drive the homeless bus where I took them to different churches every night, but I don't think they do that anymore. I once commented on how much litter there was at one of the locations where I picked them up, and one man said, "Oh, the city has someone to pick up after us." I'd say only 10% of the homeless population is conscientious. There is litter all over the Dollar Tree property that no one picks up, besides needles and feces. No employees ever walk the property to patrol it. I think the employees are afraid of the homeless people. There are at least 2 men who ride bikes up there, and I believe they're drug dealers. Once a fire was lit in the shack, but the fire department was called and they put it out. I don't understand how this manager of the Dollar Tree can have this much authority. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, David, can we address this? Because
Yeah, Miss Smith, happy to. If you would like, I've got Chief Marshall, our police chief, right in the back of the room. They'd be happy to chat with you about some of those issues and solutions we might be able to find.
But my question is, does the owner of the commercial establishment have the authority to direct our police not to clear that encampment? In other words, to leave them alone?
Yeah, I don't know all of the dynamics. I mean, I heard what Ms. Smith just, sort of what she just described. We may, and that's where I would ask Chief Marshall and his staff in the PD to speak with her directly. And then with our community action team, we can certainly reach out with the store manager and try to resolve those issues.
Okay. And is this currently going on still? Okay, so can you let us know, David? Okay, thank you. We'll get it cleaned up. You're welcome.
Okay, our next speaker, hopefully I'm reading this right, sorry, it was written pretty quickly. I believe it's June Johnson? Johnson, sorry.
Good evening. First of all, I have a question. Is this Chuck and Harry's last meeting? You have one more. Okay, then I'll hold that comment, although I'm just going to tell you, as I tell you every time I see you, if you look in the dictionary under mayor, your picture is there, Harry. We're going to miss you.
Well, thank you, June.
And almost congratulations, but we'll wait until that's official. Anyway, I was thinking this was your last night, and I wanted to be sure to come and speak.
That's because you were misinformed by your city council representative. Sorry, I had it wrong.
I was coming to tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I do want to particularly recognize Corey Beavers, who is in charge of your street cleaning crew. He got beat up pretty bad on some emails regarding the leaves that were in our neighborhood, and I just want to tell you that he did a fantastic job of taking care of it for us, was right on. Thank you, Corey, wherever you are. The tree lighting, I agree, was phenomenal. I think it's the best one we've had, so good job to whoever was involved with that this year. It was really well attended. It was so wonderful to see so many people out, and great job by all that were involved. The last thing I just want to mention, and I know it's on the agenda, but I just want to thank everyone that has worked, Dave, Paul, everyone that has worked so hard with us on this horrible landscaping conditions that we've had in our neighborhood, and I very much appreciate your open door policy, Paul's as well. You've kept us very involved in the process, informing us on the steps that were happening, and I always say people can deal with the known, and just being in the known is wonderful. So I really appreciate that, and I'm very excited about our new contractor. Thank you.
Thank you.
And our next speaker is Wayne Eddy.
Excuse me. I was not prepared to speak. First meeting, I apologize. I feel a little guilty for never making a meeting. I've watched a couple way back when, Channel 11. Born in Fairfield, raised here, love Fairfield. I have recently scraped together all my savings, put together enough to buy a property in downtown Fairfield. Having a little bit of stress over it. A lot of, I bought it originally to make a SLE, a sober living environment. It's at 748 Missouri Street on the corner, the northeast corner of Missouri, and I think they used to call it the Gingerbread House, the northeast corner of Missouri and Webster. And so what happened was one of the buildings was empty, was empty when I bought it. So I wanted to do a little renovation, get it planned, and have that kind of start a little sober living environment. I have a cousin who has a previous experience with sober living in Marin County. It's called MSM, Marin Service for Men. Super. Once I went and saw that, I was very excited about the opportunity. And so this Marin Service for Men has a great record. They take basically people right out of parole, probation, bring them in. People that want to be in recovery, that want to be clean and sober. If they don't want to be there, they can't pass the test, they can't cut the mustard, they're out. And so anyway, that was my dream. Zoning's not going to allow that right now, so I'm not putting the dream away, but I would like to. I had a little second. I had another thing in mind what I wanted to do with it, and beautify that corner. I just love the place. Homeless are killing me right now. They're spray painting the walls. They're breaking the plumbing, the faucets in the backflow valves, things I don't even know about. All of a sudden I got a flood in the water, I got a flood down in the basement, I have, and then I have some other problems with it, so let me keep it real short. I have a tenant who wants to come in and help. He wants to do the bottom floor. It's somebody that I know who's been in this town for a long time, and it's a tattoo shop, and that's not allowed on the bottom floor. It's a two-story building. It's 634 A and B on Webster Street. And there's residential neighborhood around it. There's rentals around it. You know, tattoos, I don't have any. I'm not a fan of tattoos. It's not the same as it used to be. You know, my wife, unfortunately, is the one who has tattoos.
Sir, would you conclude, please?
Yeah. Anyway, so I would like to, right now, I was told that we cannot have a tattoo shop on the bottom. Basically, I'm just trying to beautify downtown and at the same time beautify this property, and I don't even want to make any money. I just want to break even. So that's what I'm working on right now, and I don't know where we're at with that, and I will come back on another meeting, and we'll, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for the time. I appreciate it.
And those are all the public comment cards I have so far.
Esther, real quick, sir, and we also have Dave Feinstein, our interim community development director, who also is a wealth of knowledge on our zoning. I'd be happy to connect you with him as well, and he could give you guidance on what those allowable uses are.
Okay. And Madam Clerk, do we have any other speakers? Anybody online?
I don't have anybody, no hands are raised online. I do have some cards for items later on. There's a few in consent and then one for later on, so.
Okay. So we'll move to the joint meeting, the Fairfield City Council and Housing Authority, please.
All matters listed on the consent, oops, wait, let me read the Housing Authority one, sorry. The holding of a joint meeting of the City Council and Housing Authority entitles the council members to receive additional compensation of $35 for attending this joint meeting.
And the consent calendar, please, Madam Clerk.
I'll do a roll call first for Housing Authority. Commissioner Bertani?
Here.
Commissioner Moy?
Here.
Commissioner Panduro?
Here.
Commissioner Tim?
Here.
Commissioner Tonneson?
Here.
Vice Chair Vaccaro?
Here.
And Chair Price?
Here.
Okay. and
We have a
then,
quorum.
Consent. All right. All matters listed on the consent calendar are to be approved with one motion unless a member of the authority or the public requests that separate action be taken on a specific item.
And do we have any speakers, Madam Clerk?
We don't have any speaker for this consent item.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Tim. Is there a second, please? Mayor-elect Moy, please. And
You want to do a roll call, or?
all in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. We now turn to public hearings.
Public hearing and resolution HA 2022-11 of the Fairfield Housing Authority approving the update of the administrative plan for the Fairfield Housing Choice Voucher Program for the calendar year 2023. And our presenter is Tanya Tran, Housing Division Manager.
Good evening.
Can I put the microphone?
Let me get this started real quick. Oh, they can see there. Okay. Hi there. Good evening. My name is Tanya Tran, and I'm the Housing Division Manager for the Fairfield Housing Authority. We are requesting that you approve the updates to the Housing Authority's 2023 Administrative Plan, also known as the Admin Plan. The Admin Plan is a plan that provides clear, transparent policies and practices as the Housing Authority utilizes to provide assistance to low-income families that are elderly, disabled, and/or homeless. When significant changes are made to the Admin Plan, the Housing Authority is required to hold a public notice for review and comments for 45 days according to HUD regulations. Significant amendments or change is a change in policy that significantly and substantially alters the authority's stated mission and the persons the authority serves. An example of a significant change includes a change in the admission preference or waiting list process. For 2023, procedures are added to allow the Fairfield Housing Authority to accept referrals to lease-up project-based voucher units that are restricted to elderly, disabled, homeless individuals, or families requiring supportive services. This will allow the Housing Authority to lease 44 of the 51 project-based units that are restricted to disabled and homeless population at the new construction Fairhaven Commons project. This will also allow the Housing Authority to more easily work with current and future projects that have project-based units geared towards elderly, disabled, homeless, and veterans. Procedures are also added to allow the Housing Authority to use a common waiting list to fill unrestricted project-based vacant units. And last but not least, processes were improved to allow staff to manage the waiting list more effectively and efficiently. And that is the end of my presentation. I'm open for questions.
Any comments or questions, colleagues? Councilman Tonneson, please.
Thank you. How many vacancies are there? I mean, is it a big number, or?
For project-based or?
Yeah.
For vacancy right now depends on, for the project-based located at Fairhaven Commons, it has not finished construction yet. It's coming in 2023.
I guess I'm trying to get at how many units and how many people applied. I mean, are the numbers still, like in Section 8 housing, there's waiting lists that are, I'm told, years long, but Is that the case here too, or?
For Project Base, we have two waiting lists right now. One is for the Laurel Gardens, and we have a couple of vacancies there. We have another waiting list at at Sunset Creek, and we have about one vacancy there. And we're working with the management company to lease those vacancies.
So one vacancy, and how many is on the waiting list?
You know what, I don't have that information right now of how many, but it's not very long.
No, I don't need an exact answer, but
Okay.
it's not 100.
I think there's a little bit more than 100
Oh, wow.
on the Laurel, the Sunset Creek waiting list.
Okay, I was just curious about the number. Thank
I'm
you.
sorry. I can send that information to you if you're
No, we're good.
interested.
We're
No?
good.
Okay,
Thank you.
sure.
Any other comments or questions, colleagues? Okay. And do we have any public speakers on this item, Madam?
We don't have any comment cards and no hands are raised online.
Okay. So I will open the public hearing, don't have any speakers. We'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion to approve the resolution, please, as submitted. It's been moved by the Vice Mayor, seconded by Councilwoman Bertani. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you and have a good evening.
I'll now convene the City Council meeting consent calendar, please, Madam Clerk.
All matters listed on the consent calendar are to be approved with one motion unless a member of the City Council or the public requests that separate action be taken on a specific item. And I do have two items that there are public comment cards that pertain to it. Consent. All right. So the first speaker is Rick Johnson for item number 20.
So, Mr. Mayor, that item will be pulled from consent since a member of the public speaking on it.
I'm sorry?
21, yeah. Yeah, 21 is what we requested would be pulled and take under new business just before item 26.
Speaking of 20.
Oh, 20. Oh,
20,
apologies.
item number 20.
Apologies.
Okay, now I'm confused.
He wanted to talk item 20.
Oh, okay.
So, Mr. Mayor, just a procedural item. You can choose to identify the speakers for the two consent items, pass consent calendar, then have Mr. Johnson speak as to 20, because you'll need to take 20 off consent since he's asked to speak on the item.
Yes. So, okay. So we'll take it off consent. Okay.
Am I good or am I taking off?
Do you want to have him wait and do consent calendar first, then call item 20, or have him do 20, take 20, and then go back to consent? It's up to you.
Yeah. I'm sorry? Yeah. Yeah, go ahead and speak, and then we'll come back.
Excellent. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor-elect, City Council, and staff. I'm here to support a yes vote on establishing the Residents Oversight Committee for Landscaping with one significant change. On August 16th of this year, you directed staff to form a committee to provide fiscal oversight and review of the management of the landscape throughout the city. Staff has returned a portion of what you directed. They have omitted the requirement for oversight management. Management oversight needs to be added to the current proposal in the powers and duties section. Our problems in the landscape and lighting districts are primarily management oversight, not enough money. The financial side is a portion of the problem that is being addressed through the 218 efforts currently underway. The processes of the district and the timing are those major issues for us to tackle. The committee needs to be able to review the processes used to reach the goals of the districts. They need to be able to interact with the Public Works Department to ensure transparency and that the goals of the district are being pursued in a timely manner and to independently report back to you. Staff has included this reporting structure within the resolution. An example of the need to change the process, Councilperson Tim on December 21st meeting asked Ryan of the Public Works Department if we have oversight of the landscape districts, and he referred to the fact that we do. Well, the process that they are using currently, if number A in your packet, these are the January 2022 and April 2022 inspection reports for my district. There's 2 of them in there. As you can see, they're extremely limited and do not give meaningful assessments of the contractor's work for that time period. In 1995, the city had a functioning landscape committee of residents. They developed a detailed inspection report with meaningful and detailed observations. Item B in your packet, this is the November 1995 inspection report. It provides a good level of detail. This was in place for a very short period of time and was replaced later with item A, the one with very little detail. The committee made many recommendations to the Public Works Department. They did not report directly to you at that time, as the new committee will. The committee was disbanded after serving about a year and a half. I understand its members feel that they accomplished very little. Item number C is what I provided Paul in Public Works, an updated version of the 1995 inspection form that addresses each of the areas in the contract, the work that the contractors are to do, with a service frequency attached reference in the back of it, serving as a guide to keep people on track. The goal of the inspection is to review the contractor's results in completing the tasks of the contract. The form provides a basis for follow-up and documentation. I'm asking you to please expand the scope of work for the committee, the Residents Committee, to include review of management oversight. Please also consider appointing 1 resident from each of the landscape districts, not just 1 from each of your council persons'
And would you
areas,
conclude,
for
please?
representation, communication, transparency, accountability, the standards I heard from the residents this December. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, Mr.
Yeah.
City Manager, can we, procedurally, what would we do to consider the comments that were just made? And can we pull this item from consent or give you direction on it? Like, procedurally, what do we do?
Yeah,
Because
so-
I think those are good ideas.
Yeah, there's a few options. If we want to have staff give a brief report on what is presented to you, we can do that, and then council can discuss and provide direction. And then you can either give direction, we can table this and bring it back after that direction. We can continue to work with residents. It's really at your discretion. Procedurally, you can pull this from consent at this point in time if you would like. Staff can give a brief presentation, and then there can be discussion and direction.
And just to be clear, Councilmember Bertani, when Mr. Johnson came to speak, it was pulled by operation of law, because consent only is for items where there's no challenge, not challenge, but no comment. So now, once he made comment, item 20 is pulled. We're now on item 20. And in fact, just to make it clear, do you want to read item 20, just to call it?
Sure. Resolution 2022-326 of the City Council of the City of Fairfield establishing the Fairfield Landscape Oversight Committee and setting forth guidelines and duties for the committee. This is Ryan, and Ryan will be our speaker. Ryan Panganiban, assistant. Sorry.
Good evening, Council. Ryan Punganeben, Assistant Public Works Director and City Engineer. So for consideration here tonight, we have the Landscape Committee item, and we modeled the formation of the committee based on feedback we received from Council back in August. One of the key components, the structure of the committee, is based on our Measure P Oversight Committee, looking at the fiscal and financial, that's one of the key duties of that Measure P structure. We also, at the time, we based it on the feedback we received from council to have that be a 6-member committee with 1 at-large, so 1 representing each of the council members, with the understanding that there are some LLMD components that aren't included in some of the districts, but landscaping in the city in general is going to be one of the aspects that we'll be looking at. So based on that feedback that we received from council, that's how we structured, and that's what's included in Exhibit A to the attachment of the resolution. But if any feedback the council or any changes we would like to make to that Exhibit A, we could make those changes, amend it procedurally, and take that for direction.
David?
So, yeah, are there any questions for staff? Is there any discussion of council members or additional direction?
Yeah, so under the powers and duties, am I correct, and is our resident correct that the powers and duties, they do not comprise or include management oversight?
One of the key aspects is that we will be working with the operation and the functions of the landscape lighting maintenance districts. So that will be part of the work. Staff will be educating and getting feedback from the resident committee and reporting back to council on a quarterly basis.
With respect to management oversight?
Specific to the contracts, no, that was not direction that was provided. So I think what Mr. Johnson's raising is that he's requesting of City Council, and I don't mean to put words in your mouth, Mr. Johnson, that this oversight committee would oversee and have oversight of the contracts for services. That's not, okay, that's what I thought I understood you to say. I apologize, I'm confused of what's, yeah. So,
Yes.
yeah, the language in here was based on the direction that City Council provided us for oversight at your August meeting. So we've gone back, we've reviewed that, made sure that this was accurate, and so my apologies, Mr. Johnson, if I was misunderstanding what you were asking for.
No, we're asking for, and I've had my experience in working with the PVMD GAD, that process, the things that get done, how they get done, open for input and discussion. No control, no authority, no voting, input only, as far as the process is. The citizens live in those individual districts.
Absolutely.
They're going to have the information and the questions for Public Works that are doing a good job. They're working hard, but they are working on 10,000 projects. So it's hard to allocate. To have a disinterested person who can then talk to and address procedures and process and challenge them in a very constructive way for the efficacy of the whole program is an aspect that should be in there. It's only financial. This is financial, budget, money. That's all that's in the powers and duties within here. I was just suggesting that they would be able to discuss in the meetings that Ryan is going to be leading, that they would be able to come up with some additional information and viewpoints. But currently, that would be restricted and they would not be allowed.
Understood. Okay, so I guess my question back to council then is that additional direction, is there additional direction council wants? Previously, when this discussion came before you, it was financial in nature, right, because of the issues that were cropped up with the LLMD. And so, I think now it's for council discussion and any additional direction if you want to see this come back. I know it's not specifically stated within the powers and duties of what's before you here, but I mean, sort of procedurally, we would take feedback if there are concerns. I think that's a part of the purpose. It's just not enumerated in that way. So I'm looking to council here on where you're at.
I think it's a good idea to take a look at. I mean, these are our boots on the ground. And, people who live in the neighborhoods who pay very close attention to what's going on, the status of the landscape maintenance in the neighborhoods. And so I think it would be an added benefit if our volunteers on this committee actually want to put in that kind of time. I don't see how that could be detrimental to the city. I think it's an asset.
Councilman Tim, please.
Yeah, I actually agree because it's a two-way street. Because when people ask, we want this done, we want this done, we want this done, and if we don't give you the information and it doesn't get done, you know why it doesn't get done, because it costs X amount of dollars. And this way it's free-flowing information. So your expectations aren't greater than our checkbook.
Right.
And if they are, then, and I agree with Pam Bertani on this, is if you're willing to volunteer, I don't think it's not going to crimp the city style at all, and it's information. So, yeah, I'm in agreement, absolutely.
Transparency is cash neutral.
Yeah, I try not to use that word. It gets overused a lot, but it's just information, and it's realistic information. So you don't know what you don't know, we don't know what we don't know. When we're all on the same page.
Look for it together.
Because we've been doing this LLMD thing now for long time.
Too long.
So, yeah, too long.
Vice Mayor Vaccaro, please.
Yeah, I was going to say, I agree also, but, to me, over the last few meetings, it sounds like the working relationship between the citizens out there and the city has gotten a lot better. I know it was pretty contentious there for a while, so I would expect this to be not contentious and just working together, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Without limits, basically, or without constraint. Reasonable.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So David Brown now.
Mr. Mayor, if I can add, I mean, it's basically
Councilwoman
what
Tawny,
Gene
please.
Johnson just said, which is people can deal with the known. It's the unknown that gets, people, frustrated. And I'd also like to encourage the incorporation or use or at least consideration of Exhibit C here. It looks like a pretty good document. So, in conjunction with the landscape maintenance function of the committee. Thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you, Rick. This is a good
sorry,
idea.
Mayor, I think Councilwoman Penderos.
Councilwoman Panduro, please.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson, can you repeat what you talked about? You made a comment about how we're choosing the committee members for each district. You made a comment about,
Increasing?
increasing.
Yes.
Can you repeat that?
The resolution, as it's currently worded, is one volunteer from each of your districts only. And we have 16 LLMDs. I think that it's actually 19 altogether, but there's new ones being created. But there are 16 functioning right now. And to have a representative from each would be most likely the best, because then there would be representation in each of those. They could then bring their issues forward to those meetings that took place.
So versus each district is each
Correct. There'd only be 6.
Correct.
So it would be a larger group. It would be a little more unwieldy, but the more the better, the deeper the well.
Yeah, that's what I said, I don't like contentious. Can we vote on consent now?
Yes.
Thank you. I
Madam
just
Elect-
wanted to say, with all due respect, and you really have done a great job talking to us about this over time, large committees are not usually very efficient. And I would suggest that the people can come to the meetings because they would be public. And, and the folks can fill out those things in the different districts and and speak to you all or whoever it is. I just think, yeah, we could have some alternates. That's what he was just saying. I think that would be better. You have 16 or 18 or 20. It gets nuts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Mr. Mayor, just procedurally, I want to verify, Ms. Beavers, did you get a copy of the exhibits Mr. Johnson provided to the council? Okay. So we have
Yes.
3 items, just for the record, marked exhibits A, B, and C that the city clerk will have available if anyone wants to inspect them.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
No, thank you for doing a very thorough job as usual. We appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm volunteering and signing up, so you're my guy.
So just so I can clarify, is direction from council to table this item at this point in time, revise the language under the powers and duties, and then bring that back for you on consent? With the comments of the Exhibit C.
And I'm sorry, one more procedural item, Mr. Mayor. Can you ask for additional public comments just to see if anyone else wants to talk on this item?
Are there any other speakers, Madam Clerk?
I don't have any more cards on this specific item, and no hands are raised online. But I do have another consent item that I'm going to pull. Okay.
Okay, please. The other item?
Well, no, let's, I want to just resolve item 20. Is that direction you guys want to table? Just, do we need a vote on that?
I would recommend a motion to table and bring it back to council based on instructions given to
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
It's been moved by Councilmember Tawny. Is there a second, please? Mayor-elect Moyne? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. And now where do we go?
Now, I think there's a second item, Madam Clerk, that has public comment.
Yes, that would be item 2022. So I have 2 speakers on that item. The first speaker is Jacob Francisco.
And council, this item will...
Sorry, Nadia Smith.
And council, just to clarify, this item is now considered pulled and will be considered at this time.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor-elect, and members of the City Council. The entire Youth Commission and the Ad Hoc Committee on Reform Chairman Jacob Francisco presents to you an amended resolution that has gone through a process to bring forth changes to the Fairfield City Council Resolution 2008-23. The resolution contains an updated exhibit that is the guiding document for the Youth Commission. The Ad Hoc Committee on Reform was created at the May 2nd, 2022 Commission meeting. The committee met for 3 sessions to work through verbiage changes. Additional changes were suggested at the June retreat, as well as work sessions prior to the committee meetings. At the September 12th meeting of the Fairfield Youth Commission, Commissioner Francisco motioned to approve the resolution changes as recommended, and Commissioner Lathrop seconded that motion. The motion passed unanimously, and we humbly ask for a yes vote to enact this new language for the Youth Commission. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that is the only speaker for that item.
Motion to approve has been moved by the Vice Mayor, seconded by Mayor-elect Moy. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. And our next item, please, Madam Clerk.
So now, I believe the council will be taking the rest of the consent calendar as one, if there's no more speakers, Madam Clerk.
So I entertain a motion to approve. It's moved by Councilman Tim. Is there a second, please? Seconded by Councilwoman Pandura. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Now would be item 25.
Yes, now we move on to new business. Item number 25, streetscape options to enhance the public realm on Texas Street in downtown Fairfield. And our presenters are Ryan Panganiban, Assistant Director of Public Works and City Engineer, and Dwayne Dahlman, Economic Development Division Manager.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. We're here tonight to talk about the Heart of Fairfield Downtown Streetscape Improvement Project. I'll be starting the presentation, then turning it over to Ryan. Just want to start off on some of the project goals and key outcomes that we'd like to get from this project. Overall, we want to support the economic health of downtown. We want to build a community downtown. We're promoting bicycle and pedestrian use as well. And then overall, we want to increase the pedestrian dwell time. We want to create a pedestrian experience that people will greatly enjoy and spend more time in downtown and more time visiting our businesses and restaurants. I want to go over just as a background the timing of this project. So back in summer and fall of 2021, we engaged Gates & Associates, a streetscape consultant, for them to come up with basically conceptual drawings for how we could enhance the pedestrian experience downtown. We held a community meeting. We did an online survey. 275 people responded back. Overwhelmingly, the response was positive, that people wanted to see improvements in the streetscape environment downtown. The issue with the original engagement was that was conceptual in nature, and we didn't have budgets that were associated with that. So then we went back now to Gates & Associates and also to Bennett to come up with advanced conceptual designs that included budget figures, and those are the ones that we have before you this evening. Just as a reminder, the project location is downtown Texas Street between Jefferson and Pennsylvania. Our recommendation is that we look at this as all one project for that entire area. At one time, we looked at doing a multi-year phase block by block kind of project, but thought it was best to, whatever improvements we're doing, to do them all together for the entire stretch. Just as a visual reminder, the existing streetscape, we have here some pictures. We have pergolas and the potted plants. The corners are the raised planters, mostly concrete. And then the existing streetscape furniture, we have trash cans and bike racks and things like that. So part of this project is to then replace the existing material that's out there. And we've highlighted some of the pictures here of what we've put into the plan and that we'll also be asking for your input on. But you see things like, new benches and new garbage cans and new seating areas, including stand-up seating and sit-down seating. Since we're proposing to have the downtown be an food and arts district, we want to also include public art in this project. So we have Glashoff has donated 6 sculptures that we're going to be planning or putting in downtown. So 4 of them are shown here. And so these are going to be placed at all the corners along Texas Street, starting from Pennsylvania to Jefferson. And I'll turn it over now to Ryan to talk about the specific options.
Okay, sorry about that. Thanks, Dwayne. So we're working with our design team. We've prepared 3 options for consideration here tonight. And as Dwayne alluded to earlier, improvements are planned on Texas Street from Pennsylvania to Jefferson. And to facilitate our discussion, I pick a typical block to look at what the proposed improvements look like. So for option number 1, the project proposes removing those existing pergolas, raised planters, benches, and trash bins. And in their place, the project will install new modern outdoor seating elements and low-maintenance landscaping. So this slide also includes the proposed planting palette to help get a sense of the type of shrubs and accent trees that we're proposing. The project includes minimal upgrades to the sidewalk pavers, and there is no work within the street as part of this option. So I wanted to drill down a bit and so that folks have a better handle on what we're actually proposing with option 1. And here's a before and after cross-section. You'll notice that the image on the right delineates an amenity and pedestrian zone. So upgrades are proposed within this amenity zone to enhance this streetscape and create a different experience for folks walking downtown. While the pedestrian zone, which is the area between the face of the building and approximately 8 to 9 feet out, will remain unchanged. So here's a different view looking from Texas Street. And again, a before and after side-by-side comparison. The existing pergolas and potted plants will be replaced with raised dining tables and stools, which will offer an option to sit or to stand. And again, we'll be replacing the potted plants with in-ground shrubs and low-maintenance planting. Similarly, the existing concrete benches and landscaping will be replaced with new seating and accent plants. So option 2 just builds upon the work that was completed in option 1, and what this work specifically includes is replacing the existing pavers at the corners with new decorative concrete sidewalk, additional amenities into that amenity zone, which would include additional seating area and bike racks, and a pretty substantial change would be to upgrade our crosswalks so that the pedestrians walking along Texas Street have visibility at all times of the day. So the final option entails a complete overhaul and rehabilitation of Texas Street. This is the most transformative option as it envisions the replacement of most of the elements that we have on Texas Street and within the public right-of-way. So work includes replacing the existing pavers with new colored stamped concrete, installation of wayfinding signs. These are key to strengthen the downtown identity and provide information and advertising opportunities. New tree grates will be installed at the locations of the existing tree wells. And you'll notice that there's a complete rehabilitation of the existing intersection with new decorative pavement. So staff has spent a considerable amount of time researching, with the help of our consultant team, we've prepared 30% design level cost estimates, as Dwayne alluded to, for these 3 options. So the cost shown on this slide represents all phases of the project, from design, the preparation of plans and specifications, to bidding the project and actual construction. So the costs of the projects range from $2.5 million for option 1, or the baseline work, to $13 million for our ultimate configuration, or option number 3. So we've looked at available funding and we've researched what funds are available to us, and we've identified approximately $5 million in economic development funds for this project. So this funding can be utilized immediately to design and construct option number 1, and will still leave additional funding for economic development uses. So if council desires for us to proceed with options 2 or 3, there will be a gap. To cover this budget shortfall, we've looked at a couple of options for council's consideration here. So the first one is pursuing state and federal grants, and grant funding for infrastructure projects tend to be competitive in nature, which make it a little bit difficult for us to perfect the timing on when we would start construction. We could also explore financing the project through a bond or some type of loan. And lastly, there may be an opportunity for us to shift local funds that were previously earmarked for other projects and city initiatives to this downtown streetscape project. And if this is the desire of the council, we would need to conduct a comprehensive analysis to determine what impacts that would have and report back to council at a future date. So in summary, staff is seeking council feedback on 2 items. First, do the recommended streetscape amenities align with council's vision for our downtown? And secondly, we were looking for council's direction on a preferred option. So in consideration of the available local funds, staff could design and construct option 1 and have the work completed next year. Is this the preferred approach? Or should the city progress the design of options 2 and 3, in essence, get the project ready or shovel ready for construction, pursue grants or some other outside funding? Or are there some other considerations or feedback council would like us to pursue? So that concludes our presentation, and to facilitate our discussion, here's this option slide again, which includes our potential timeline for project delivery. And Dwayne and I are available to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Councilman Tim, please, and then we'll come to you.
Yeah, if you start with the money that we have, say the baseline, option 1, and it was moving kind of quick, but let's say in 3 years, now we want to include maybe option 2 or even option 3, is what we started with the baseline, then is 2 and 3 conducive to what we already have in place? Do you understand what I'm...
Is the work throwaway? If we pursue to do option 1, are we, in essence, when we do the ultimate configure, some of the work throwaway? The answer is yes. The portion of, it would be difficult for us to salvage some of that work that we're doing within the pedestrian realm. We would have to work around that, which would increase potential costs. So that is a consideration.
So then, in essence, if we chose 1, we're baseline, we're kind of stuck with it. If we don't want to have a redo, why spend a couple $1 million and you drive a bulldozer through it in 5 years, because now we've changed to 2 or 3. That's correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Vice Mayor Vaccaro, please.
Yeah, so Ryan, so you mentioned shifting funds.
Mm-hmm.
Can you be specific about that?
Yeah. It may be a bit difficult to read from this slide here. Here's just kind of a summary of all the funding that was previously identified for these different initiatives that the city is working on and progressing. So this is a fiscal year 2022, 2023 snippet of what the programs are that we've earmarked, but haven't formally brought a resolution to council to progress this work.
So we have 40, so that's 4,200,000 uncommitted, which means we could use that.
If the council desires, we
move
could
towards 2 if we wanted to.
That's correct.
Okay.
Other comments, colleagues? Councilman Tim?
Yeah, this will be for the city manager, because this is a lot of money. So is any of this can be offset with the Northeast fee? Or is that a different fund?
That's different. So no, it would not be offset with the Northeast fees or your other development impact fees. There's a little bit of a development impact fee that is raised from the, what's the?
Art?
Yeah, and it's more focused on art and public places. I forget the specific fee.
Gateways and urban art.
Yeah, I just forget the name of the specific fund. So, but it's very little. Now we could look at, so I think these are the options that are before you, right? If council so desired, then we could look at some sort of development impact fee structure When we did the development impact fee update recently, that was really just your transportation, linear park, northeast fee. We did not look at art and public places or improvement, these types of improvements. I don't know off the top of my head what, any nexus connection could be. That may be difficult. Usually those types of funds are for expansion of capacities, right? Development's paying its own way for new infrastructure that's needed in order to accommodate those new units, those new impacts from that new development, not necessarily for the replacement of these types. There's a multitude of options we could look at, and I would actually ask Ryan one question. If council were interested in some combination of two or three, would it be possible to design for sort of that ultimate project and then work backwards, once you had more information, work backwards from there to then phase projects along over a number of years in order to get to the ultimate, and then also we could come back at a future date and sort of identify additional options. So what Ryan was showing you was some of those uncommitted funds or things that have already been programmed elsewhere. But I'm sure that if we really sat down and started looking through different things and different funding sources, we could come up with some additional funding opportunity. There's always trade-offs with those. So there might be some projects that are already in your capital improvement plan that council could decide, you don't want to do that. I don't know a project off the top of my head, but identify projects that you want to, in effect, cut off the capital improvement plan to then prioritize these improvements. And if council wanted additional information on that ultimate option, that is something that we could go back and continue. We didn't go, fully into that analysis and really look at everything that would be within the realm of possibility there, simply because we wanted to do this check-in with you first to see where's council at in your thinking in terms of what scale of these streetscapes. Originally, when council had the discussion on this, in your budget, you programmed $4 million for downtown improvements. We've spent $2.1 million of that on the acquisition of the Bank of America building, plus there's some additional costs in terms of demolition of that building and some of that pre-development. We've continued funding facade improvements. And so what the $5 million that was identified was sort of that leftover within that economic development fund that could be tapped up to that amount. Anything beyond that is then if that was the direction you wanted to go, we would then need to sort of reassess and start to look for those other ways, as Ryan presented some of those options.
So under then, what is it, the enhanced financing?
Under an EIFD,
Yes.
that would certainly be one of the options for you to look at. These would be the types of infrastructure improvements that would be eligible. As we have analyzed that, we're in the process. We've had conversations with the county on some form of joint EIFD. As we look at enhanced infrastructure financing districts, they're sort of redevelopment light. That is something that as we look across the state, the ones that have been really successful and sort of gotten the most legs is when you partner with a county. The reason being is because under EIFD law, it's not quite as expansive as former redevelopment agency funding mechanisms were for tax increment financing, much more narrow. If we were taking just the tax increment from the city of Fairfield, we get about 16 cents on the property tax dollar collected. When you take just that amount, it doesn't really garner enough revenue once you then borrow backwards, for that tax increment to make a huge dent. And so by partnering with a county agency, which there's a multitude of EIFDs in process around the state, it opens that pool up to additional funding. So that is an alternative. That is, in terms of time frame, that's probably a 5+ year time frame, even if we were to move quickly. If the county said yes to doing an EIFD, which again, we're sort of working with them on that analysis right now, realistically, you're in a 5+ year time frame before any of that type of funding would be feasible and available.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Mayor-elect, please.
Thank you. I'm wondering, I think, David, I spoke with you about this before, but the Texas Street is a historic highway. Have we ever really dug into whether we can get grants for rehabbing that? I think one of my friends had talked to a previous city manager about that. but I'm not sure if we've looked into that. Do you know anything about that? Right.
Right, so we were successful in 2019 in securing an active transportation grant to the tune of approximately $11 million, but that's for West Texas, Beck Avenue to Pennsylvania Avenue. But that was a pretty labor-intensive process. That plan set was adopted through the Heart of Fairfield Specific Plan in 2013. So it took us about 6 years for context to get grant funding to do that work. And that project is progressing, and we're hoping to break ground on the construction in 2024.
Okay.
So that kind of gives you an order of magnitude of 2013 decision was made on this master plan. We pursued grant funding. We were able to get that in 2019, and we're going to start construction on that project in 2024. So that kind of gives you.
So I can see that it takes a long time to get through there.
It's possible to answer your question. It's possible. It's just takes
But
time.
I know we want to move a little more quickly here.
Yeah. One of
obviously,
the
so we can see things. Right.
Yeah, one of the things, I mean, just tomorrow, there's a webinar being put on by MTC ABAG, looking at the new infrastructure bill, right? I mean, there's $1.2 trillion approved for infrastructure. And so that's something that, everyone's sort of on the lookout for. Okay, what are those pots of money? How's that going to roll out over the life of that infrastructure package? So, looking at grants, looking at various options, yes, I mean, that is definitely an opportunity. As Ryan highlights, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a quick opportunity to move more quickly on improvements if that was a part of the desire of the city council.
Just one point of clarification, David, was to clarify, we could phase the work that's occurring within the street. So the work that's happening within the intersections and that's happening on the street, we could phase that work separately from the work that's happening within that pedestrian realm, that amenity and pedestrian zone. That work could go sooner, and we could phase that work because it wouldn't, we wouldn't have to put a bulldozer and knock those improvements down.
Councilman Tim?
Well, no, what I was going to say is it's starting to make sense, and then I would be in favor probably of number 2. I think if this comes to fruition, what you're going to find is we start enhancing downtown, and especially with us, purchasing B of A and the entire block, I think funding then will start coming especially from new development. And then we talked about the EFIDs. And I'm comfortable, Ryan, and when you said, well, okay, maybe we can do this and this without destroying something we just bought a couple years prior to, then I certainly would lean towards number 2.
Number 2, okay. Councilman Tonneson, please. Then the Vice Mayor, and then Councilwoman Bertani, please.
Thank you, Ryan. I'd kind of like to see a hybrid of 2 and 3, because the one, I don't think any of us want one if you're going to have to make changes to that. But so any changes you make to downtown that are positive, I'm on board with. I love the direction that you guys are going. So I get a little giddy when I see stuff like this. But when you look at this, you look at 3 and you see the wow, and even 2, there's no wow with 1. So if we did like a hybrid of 2 and 3, that way if we started 2 and wanted to move it into 3, would there be the changes that you would have to make to 1? Or can you easily translate to, go from 2 to 3? Can you, like a hybrid?
Right, so Dwayne had mentioned this to me, the big difference between 2 and 3 is kind of the mid-block amenities that would be happening. So we would remove those pergolas and planters. So 2 is focused on the corners and really.
Yeah, no, I like that.
And then 3 is really the mid-block and all the work that's happening there. So if I'm hearing it correctly, is the request is to kind of come back with options between 2 and 3.
But what if,
with options for 2 and 3 with more breakdown of potential costs, so that so council could select.
And then I'm just looking, I don't see, I guess it's just from when you show one to the other, the streetlights disappear. Are we, what's going?
So none of the options consider replacing streetlights. We could look at that. That is.
No, I just didn't see them in the.
Gotcha.
Because I mean, this is for another discussion, but the banners are kind of worn out now. It's probably time to change those, so. But yeah, I like a 2.5, you know?
2.5, okay. Go ahead,
Pam. Go first.
So this is just a point of clarification from what Councilmember Tim asked in terms of if we go with one and then a couple of years later, we say we want to go to 2 or 3, we would have to destroy number 1, basically?
We could.
Because your slide says 2 is option 1 plus intersection safety improvements. So 2 is really building on 1.
Correct. And we could phase. Sorry, go ahead, Councilman.
Go ahead.
We could. I apologize. To point of clarity, we could phase in the work that's happening within the street. That could happen as a separate phase, and we could focus within the sidewalk, and we could make additional improvements within the sidewalk and the amenity zone.
So phasing from 1 to 2 does not require the demolition of 1?
Correct.
Okay. So moving from 2 to 3, does that require the demolition of 2?
Yes.
Okay. So that's the big stepping stone.
That's correct.
All right. And I want to speak up for the planters and benching. I think that those planters and the benching bring a lot of character downtown. And it reminds me, like when we are at the parades and stuff, that's where so many people lining the streets, that's where they sit. I mean, can they be refurbished? Can they be resurfaced? I mean, is it necessary to demolish them? Can we add instead of demolishing them in terms of, adding some of the benching that you're talking about without the demolition of those raised planters? I just think they bring character. I think they're quaint, they're elegant. I like the walkways downtown with the brick on it. I mean, why would we demolish that? It's beautiful, and it's our downtown, I mean, so I would just ask the council, okay, well, I do. I like the sidewalks and I like the raised planters. So, I mean, I guess if I had something to add, I would say, where can we refurbish instead of demolish when it comes to just those raised planters? And maybe the sidewalk, because are all the sidewalks downtown like the one with that red brick?
It's a mix between, they're pavers, and it's a mix between that red brick and there's the gray and darker tones. They're pavers, though.
So it's inconsistent?
Sorry, no, it's a consistent palette throughout. It's just a mix between different color palettes. There's accents at different locations.
So, Scott, you're saying you don't like those palettes?
I do not. I just think they're old and tired. I think it's, time for a change. But some of these raised benches, I'm just for moderning out the whole thing, because it's, we're kind of building it for future generations and future councils, so.
Okay,
I was just looking as modern as we could get.
And so you're good with demolishing the raised planters and?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, if that's the consensus.
Especially the curbs. I mean, the first day those were out, there's so many trucks that hung up on those curbs, so.
Vice Mayor Vaccaro, please.
Go ahead.
I did want to point out that going back to the survey that we did and the feedback we got from the community meetings, most of that feedback was to modernize, to remove the existing concrete kind of structures and move into this type of furniture. So I just wanted to point that out from the original feedback.
Vice Mayor Vaccaro, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. and I appreciate everyone's comments. I think, I know I've been, a critic of how fast this is moving in the past, okay? To me, I mean, one thing I don't want to see is something that's done halfway. And I really do, I mean, I get, people talk to me about Heart of Fairfield all the time, that how's it going, where are we going, how much is it going to cost? I think if we don't do, actually, Scott, I like your idea about, two, like a sort of a hybrid with 2 and 3, maybe coming back, I don't know how long, hopefully that wouldn't take too long to do, right? And we can look at that, because I'd rather just, if we're going to do it, let's do it right. Let's do a downtown that people can really, really like, so, that would be my say. I know that it's going to cost money, but you did show some areas where we might be able to shift some money and maybe get some grants. So that would be I agree with that option. Well, it's not an option now, but maybe an option in the very, very, very near future. Go ahead, Doris.
Any other, Councilman Pandero, please?
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with my colleagues here's the thing. We've all been here, a lot of us have lived here our entire lives. We're bringing some great new things downtown. I feel like we have to, I don't know if go big or go home is the appropriate quote, but in the sense of we need to just think outside the box and really go forward this vision I think that we all have of what our downtown can be. I've been spending a lot of time in Napa for personal reasons, and I hear a lot of just feedback from our city, and I'm like, when do we get to, I'm proud of where I live, but I want all of our residents to feel proud going downtown and walking away with a sense of pride. And I think this is that step forward where we're able to provide that to our residents and our business owners. Because we can do the little things, but I think that if we try to be innovative, how we're talking about maybe a combination of 2 and 3 would really allow our city and our residents and our business owners to just really have a sense of pride and show that we are doing something to move our city forward. So, and I think we can do it.
Okay, thank you. So do you have clear direction now?
Yeah, I think that helps us with direction. I appreciate the comments, and what we'll do is we'll come back to you, sooner rather than later, with some of those additional options and keep moving this forward.
And Mr. Mayor, you don't need to take any action, but do you want to ask for any public comment?
I was just about to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any public comments on this?
Yes, there is one speaker on this item. His name's Cornelius Wood.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, and fellow Fairfield residents. I do have a few things to say about this. One of them is I've been around here long enough to know when Highway 40 came through downtown Fairfield, and it is a beauty compared to that. But it could stand some improvement, and I certainly agree with that one. And I say to you, go for the whole thing, not to have a cookie. If you're going to do it well. That is what I intended to say, but what I'm trying to say to you is that the Heart of Fairfield plan initially identified the elimination or the degrading of Texas Street as a main arterial. And in order to do so, in that, they recommended that, I think it's Woolner, be replacement as the major arterial because it started all the way over by Auto Row and comes all the way through town, ends up over by the courthouse. And it was one of the few streets that had a through flow. If you continue on the process of modernizing downtown Fairfield and making it look better, you're going to have an alternative to the traffic that has come through there. And I would say to you, you must consider that prior to really restricting the flow of traffic through town. Now, this does do that, and it can be ameliorated by some other consideration, which ought to be part of this picture. That's my comment on that one. I'll leave it at that. Aside from that, recently, this past weekend, I had an opportunity to visit Wendy's. And right alongside of Wendy's is the Old Eastern Cafe, which has been vacant for the last 40-some-odd years, and it sat there and did nothing to it. In my visit there, I happened to notice that there was remnants of smoke coming out, and the place is boarded up. And that And at the same time, we were having a convention of Fairfield homeless cyclists in the front room, in the front aisle. There must have been 20 or 30 people there in various stages of repair on their bicycles, whatever. Plus, you could see where the smoke had come out from when it was boarded up. You evidently had a fire there. So aside from my comments on this, I'd like to say you need to do something about that homeless stuff. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. So we have clear direction? Okay. We move to item number 26, please. Madam Clerk?
Take 21 first.
Resolution 2022-332 of the City Council of the City...
Madam Deputy Clerk, real quick, let's, item 21 first was the item that we recommended, and because that was pulled from consent and to be taken just before item 26. And Paul Koschel, our Public Works Director, will present them, and I believe you'll kind of cover them sort of both, right? Yeah.
Sorry, correction. Item 21, Resolution 2022-327 of the City Council of the City of Fairfield approving a contractor service agreement with TerraCare Associates for landscape maintenance services and authorizing an update for the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget for the Landscaping and Lighting Maintenance District Number 14, Woodlake, and Resolution 2022-328 for the City Council of the City of Fairfield approving a contractor service agreement with TerraCare Associates for landscape maintenance services and authorizing an update for fiscal year 2022-2023 budget for the Landscape and Lighting Maintenance District Number 17, Chadbourne, Beck, Cordelia. And our presenter is Public Works Director Paul Koschel.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. This item, 21, it's related to item 26, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. It's the same landscape contractor. Ms. June Johnson earlier mentioned she was excited about our new landscape maintenance contractor. TerraCare is who she was referring to. For this specific item, 21, I don't have a presentation per se, but Mr. City Manager mentioned earlier that we had some corrections. So that's what I wanted to talk about for this item. So as part of our contracts, our agreements with contractors, we require performance and payment bonds from the contractor. And so late last week, we were notified by the contractor that they forgot to include the 1% premium that they have to pay as part of their total contract price. And so the changes that you see before you include a 1% increase in their total contract price. In addition to that, earlier today, we identified two other small corrections that didn't make it into your packet. And so I just wanted to verbally mention those and point those out to you. So on attachment 2, page 27 of 34 of that attachment, the dollar amount shown as $532,282 should be $537,605. And then and that matches with the total contract price for that contract. And then on attachment 5, page 28 of 35 of that attachment, the dollar amount shown as $458,074 should be $462,655. And so those are the only additional changes from what you have before you.
And Mr. Mayor, if I could, and Mr. Koschel, just to clarify, these items were updated on the packets that are on your dais now, and I believe Ms. Beavers updated them online around 3 o'clock this afternoon. So anyone looking at them now online is seeing the correct numbers with the exception of the changes Mr. Koschel just mentioned. But anyone who reviewed them online earlier saw the different numbers. So that's just to clarify the record. It doesn't affect your ability to take action tonight or pass the resolution.
Okay. And then the last item I'll mention for this item is the previous contract for these two LLMDs, which is Woodlake and Chadbourne Beck Cordelia, expired I think in December 2021. It's been month to month since then with New Image Landscape, and so this is doing a new 2-year term contract with TerraCare with options to extend in the future. So this is just doing a new contract for something that's been month to month.
Comments or questions, colleagues? Okay. No. So we can take action now? Entertain a motion to approve. Been moved by the Vice Mayor.
I'm
Is
sorry,
there a
Mr. Mayor,
second?
you need public comment as well.
Any public comments?
I do not have any speaker cards and no hands are raised online.
Okay. Been moved by the Vice Mayor, seconded by Councilman Tim. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. We turn then to item number 26, please.
Resolution 2022-332 of the City Council of the City of Fairfield approving a contractor service agreement with TerraCare Associates for landscape maintenance services in the Landscaping and Lighting Maintenance District Number 7, Rolling Hills, and Resolution 2022-333 of the City Council of the City of Fairfield approving a contract service agreement with TerraCare Associates for landscape maintenance services in the Landscaping and Lighting Maintenance District Number 11, Paradise Valley North, and Resolution 2022-334 of the City Council of the City of Fairfield, approving a contractor service agreement with TerraCare Associates for landscape maintenance services in the Landscaping and Lighting Maintenance District Number 13, North Cordelia. And our presenter is Paul Koschel, Public Works Director.
Okay, so for this item, I do want to give you a brief update on the landscape maintenance for these LLMDs, number 7, 11, and 13, which we've been talking about for quite some time now, some of the challenges there. I have bad news and good news. The bad news is that our current landscape maintenance contractor, New Image Landscape Company, has been frankly terrible. So they have consistently failed to meet the requirements of our reduced services contract, which started in January of this year. Our staff, our public works staff, as well as numerous residents in these districts have noticed repeatedly poor workmanship, incomplete work, at times lack of services altogether. So in response, we've withheld monthly payments. We've repeatedly reached out to the contractor to try to work through and remedy the non-performance. But at this point in time, we are recommending to terminate the contracts with New Image Landscape. Now, we've terminated contracts, these type of contracts, in the past. One of the challenges that we've faced is there's only 2 contractors that have bid this type of work. And so we terminate contractor A, we turn around and give it to contractor B. Contractor B also has challenges performing the contract to the requirements of the contract. The reason why we only have 2 bidding is because of the way we procure the work, which is awarding it to the low bidder. Over time, these 2 contractors, so in the past, let me take a step back. In the past, that process of awarding to the low bidder has served the city well, right, for providing like competitive pricing. In recent years, these 2 contractors have continually working to outbid each other to win the next job. But in recent years, it's at a price point that they can't afford to add additional resources necessary to complete the work. And so, the good news. The good news is we have a replacement contractor that we're excited about. The California Public Contract Code excludes routine landscape maintenance as a public work project. And so what that means is we don't have to award that type of work to the low bidder. Additionally, our city's purchasing policy allows us to award landscape maintenance work on a qualifications basis. And so in August, we started reaching out to other landscape contractors that that our staff was interested in working with, including 2 companies that we had really good productive discussions with, Odyssey Landscape Company and TerraCare Associates. So we had multiple discussions. We followed up with multiple field meetings with both parties so that they get a better handle on the amount of work that we were talking about. One of the selling points for both of these companies is they both committed to, with these contracts, if awarded these contracts, they would hire staff and provide full-time crews that work in Fairfield full-time every day. So every day, our staff, our residents would be seeing these crews on a daily basis at these districts. So, let's see, sorry. Okay, so Odyssey, one of the first company, expressed interest initially in working with the city, but declined to bid to provide proposals for these districts because they could not commit to the amount of resources necessary for this large of a project at this time. TerraCare Associates did submit proposals, and thanks to the general fund loans that were approved in May, these districts can afford to move forward with these contracts with TerraCare. We met recently, early November, with a small member of the LLMD working group committees, including Ms. June Johnson as part of Rolling Hills and Mr. Rick Johnson with Paradise Valley, and we explained our new approach and our process, and they all each of those residents they approved and were approved of this approach. So pending your approval this evening, we would terminate the existing contracts with New Image, and we would enter into a new 6-month contract with TerraCare for these 3 districts, which would go from January 1st to June 30th. And then after the districts complete the 218 process, which would be around June, we would reevaluate these contracts based on the amount of service that the voters approve in June. So lastly, similar to the changes I described in item 21, we had the 1% increase to the contracts that, for the bonds that we were advised by the contractor. And so I wanted to go through those additional changes. You do have the revised packets in front of you as well for those, but there were 3 numbers that changed subsequent to that I wanted to point out. So on attachment 2, page 24 of 31, the dollar amount shown as $240,778 should be $243,186. On attachment 4, page 32 of 39, the dollar amount shown as $136,163 should be $137,525. And finally, on attachment 6, page 29 of 36, the dollar amount shown as $234,927 should be $237,277. And that concludes my presentation, and I'm available for questions.
And just for the record, Mr. Mayor, the changes referenced by Mr. Koschel have been changed and uploaded to the website by Ms. Beavers, I believe, again at 3 o'clock this afternoon. On the website, it's referenced as revised packet, which is a complete change other than the changes just referenced by Mr. Koschel. Also, the proposed resolutions, both on the dais and currently on the website for attachments, as attachments 1, 2, and 3, do recite the correct figures. So anybody looking at them post 3 o'clock will see the correct numbers, but anybody who did before that don't have the right numbers, but you have the right ones on the dais in front of you. And again, none of these changes affect your ability to approve these resolutions.
Comments or questions? Councilwoman Bertani, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Will the contract termination result in any work gaps?
I'm sorry?
The termination of the contract?
Work gaps?
Yeah.
No. So
Okay.
we would terminate the contract and we would end it, on December 31st, and then start the new contract with TerraCare the following day.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any other comments, colleagues? Do we have any request to speak cards on this item, Madam Clerk?
I have no speaker cards and no hands raised online.
Okay. We'll entertain a motion then to approve.
So moved.
Been moved by Councilwoman Bertani, seconded by Councilman Tim. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Sorry, just to clarify, is this approving all 3 resolutions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
We have one more item.
We turn now to item number 27, Madam Clerk.
Public hearing and resolution 2022-335 of the City Council of the City of Fairfield annexing territory Valley Strong Credit Union to Community Facilities number 2022-2, Public Safety Services, Open Space Operation and Park Maintenance as Annexation Number 60, authorizing the levy of a special tax within the annexed territory, submitting the levy of a special tax to the qualified electors thereof, and rescinding Resolution Number 2022-285 and Resolution 2022-336 of the City Council of the City of Fairfield, declaring the results of a special annexation election in territory annexed to Community Facilities District Number 2022-2, Public Safety Services, Open Space Operation, and Park Maintenance, determining the validity of prior proceedings and directing recording of amended notice of special tax lien for the City of Fairfield Community Facilities, District Number 2022-2, Public Safety Services, Open Space Operation, and Park Maintenance, Annexation Number 60, Valley Strong Credit Union. And our presenter is Ryan Panganiban, Assistant Public Works Director and City Engineer.
Good evening, Mayor Price, Mayor-elect Moy, Vice Mayor Vaccaro, and members of the City Council. Ryan Panganiban. I am the Assistant Public Works Director and City Engineer. So before you tonight is Annexation Number 60 for CFD 2012-2. As Council is aware, this provides funding for public safety services, open space operations, and park maintenance throughout the City of Fairfield. So the proposed project for annexation is located north of Manuel Campos Parkway on Nelson Road, just east of Interstate 80. And once constructed, the development will be a Valley Strong Credit Union building. Council may recall that on October 18th at the public hearing, when it was conducted, at the time, the annexation of the property into CFD 2012-2 did not proceed because the votes of the property owner were tallied and the measure did not pass with a no vote. So shortly after the October 18th council meeting, the property owner did reach out to the city and indicated their vote. They voted no inadvertently and desired the opportunity to cast another ballot and waive any irregularities in the process. So by conducting the public hearing tonight, carrying out the ballot procedures, and adopting the proposed resolutions before you, council will complete the annexation process and the property will be added to the district. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
Any comments or questions for Ryan? Seeing none, I will open the public hearing. Do we have any requests to speak cards, Madam?
No speaker cards and no hands raised online.
I will then close the public hearing, entertain a motion to approve the resolution. Councilman Taylor, please.
Mayor, before we do this, just for full disclosure, that I'm an advisor to the board of Valley Strong, and I disclosed that last time. I still...
Yeah, I don't think it keeps you from voting on this issue.
No, I just for disclosure purposes. So.
And Mr. Mayor, we do need to take each resolution separately so that Ms. Beavers can open the ballot and hopefully read the correct results this time.
Let's take them separately, please.
Resolution 20.
So the first motion would be to approve Resolution 2022-335 of the City Council of the City of Fairfield, annexing territory Valley Strong Credit Union to Community Facilities District Number 2012-2, Public Safety Services, Open Space Operation, and Park Maintenance as Annexation Number 60, authorizing the levy of a special tax within the annexed territory, submitting the levy of a special tax to the qualified electors thereof, and rescinding Resolution Number 2022-285.
So moved.
Is there a second, please? Been seconded by Mayor-elect. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm going to now open the ballot. Please be right. And it is a yes vote.
And now the council may consider a motion for Resolution 2022-336 of the City Council of the City of Fairfield, declaring the results of a special annexation election in territory annexed to Community Facilities District Number 2012-2, Public Safety Services, Open Space Operation, and Park Maintenance, determining the validity of prior proceedings and directing recording of amended notice of special tax lien for City of Fairfield Community Facilities District Number 2012-2, Public Safety Services, Open Space Operation, and Park Maintenance, Annexation Number 60, Valley Strong Credit Union.
Entertain a motion to approve. It's been moved by the Vice Mayor and seconded by Councilwoman Panduro. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. And there is no other business before this body, so we are adjourned.
Mark Carriosa.
I'm sorry? Yes, and we're closing in memory of Mark. Thank you very much. Good night.